On this 2.0T Audi engine, this is a B7 generation, more specifically a 2006 Audi A4. We're having a P0118 engine coolant temperature circuit high input. Now basically what that means and what it's referring to is a sensor on the back of the engine block connected to the coolant flange, which is something that we recently did work on, and there's a connector that plugs into it. And there's a few things you need to look at that could be causing that code to be thrown, and it might not be that that sensor is bad, but there's a few things to check. If you pull off the sensor wire from the coolant temperature sensor, which we have right here, if you look at the connections, you can see there's metal in the left one, and you don't see anything in the right one. And that's a big smoking gun in our case. That means it's not making connection on the right pin. This is part of a 90-degree housing that goes just right on the back of this sensor that we needed to pull off in order to get access to the pins so we can pull them out and either replace or fix the pins, push them back in, or whatever needs to be done. But this did need to come off in order to access. In our case, what it is this right wire right here. I just need to push forward and push that pin back into where it's supposed to be. We'll mix up a little bit of epoxy because we'll need to apply a little bit of that to the back of the sensor to keep the wires from coming back out. We'll put that little bit of glue onto the wiring harness plug. There's a few things that can cause the P0118 code, which is the one that we're diagnosing here. And it can be something really simple, like the coolant level. If your coolant's low, it can cause that code to show up. Or if there's a break in the wiring harness, you need to test to make sure there's voltage on the plug of the wiring harness. Those two pins, you can use a voltmeter. Test those. You should see about 5 volts coming out from there. Or the sensor itself could be bad, and that could be throwing the error. And you can test that also with a voltmeter in ohms mode. You can check the signal, and you should see the signal. First of all, you should have a reading, and then whenever you turn the engine on, let it warm up. That signal should change with the engine temperature, like it's sending a signal back to the PCM. There's a few things that can be also that the thermostat, which is right around here, that can also be bad. But the main things you want to check first are going to be the wiring harness and the sensor itself, and of course your coolant level. I'll go ahead and clear this code. Now we'll start up the car. The check engine light went away. We'll drive it around a bit, test drive it, and make sure that code doesn't come back and let it recalculate all of its things it needs to. After a test drive, the check engine light did not come back on, so we solved that issue.